Hey everyone, welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're diving into a topic that's super relevant for anyone who's interested in a career in tech or just wants to understand how the digital world works. Programming languages.
That's right.
Specifically, we're going to be looking at the languages that are most in demand right now.
Yeah.
Those skills that'll help you land a job or even launch your own tech startup.
Right.
You shared an article called The Most In-Demand Programming Languages, Your Guide to Career Success in Tech, which was published on October 21st, 2024, so just a few days ago. And we're going to break it down for you, give you the insights you need to know.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea to focus on this because the tech landscape is constantly changing.
Yeah.
What's hot today might be, old news tomorrow.
Right.
So it's really important to stay ahead of the curve.
Yeah, it's like trying to run up a down escalator.
Exactly. You got to keep moving just to stay in place.
And the article talks about this idea of a skills-based economy.
Right.
It's not just about what you know right now,
Yeah.
but it's about your ability to learn and adapt to new technologies.
Yeah. It's like you're constantly leveling up in a video game.
I like that analogy.
Right.
So let's talk about some of these in-demand languages.
Okay.
And the first one that the article highlights is Python.
Yeah. Python is a great place to start.
I've heard it described as the Swiss Army knife of programming languages.
Uh-huh.
What do you think of that analogy?
I think it's pretty accurate. You can use Python for just about anything.
Yeah.
Web development,
Mm.
data science, machine learning, even game development.
Really? Game development, too?
Yeah. It might not be the first choice for like those big budget AAA games, but it's great for indie games and educational games.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and one of the things that makes Python so popular is its readability.
Okay.
The code is designed to be easy to understand.
Uh-huh.
It's almost like reading plain English.
So it's a good language for beginners.
Definitely. It's a great way to get started with programming.
But is it powerful enough for more complex tasks?
Oh, absolutely. Don't let the simplicity fool you. Python has a massive library support, which means there are tons of pre-built tools you can use for specific tasks.
Okay, can you give me some examples? Like what kind of tools?
Sure, so let's say you're interested in data science.
Okay.
Python have libraries like NumPy and Pandas, which are amazing for working with data.
Huh.
And then for machine learning, there's TensorFlow.
Ah, yeah, I've heard of TensorFlow.
It's one of the most popular machine learning libraries out there, and it's built on Python.
So Python is basically the brains behind all those cool AI applications we hear about.
It's definitely a key player. And Python's not limited to just data science and machine learning.
You mentioned web development.
Right. With frameworks like Django and Flask, Python makes it really easy to build websites and web applications.
Interesting. So if I wanted to build the next Facebook or Instagram, I could use Python.
You could definitely use Python.
Yeah.
It's a great choice for building all sorts of web applications.
Wow, Python is pretty versatile.
It is. And here's another cool thing about Python. It's great for automation.
Automation.
Yeah, so, all those repetitive tasks you do on your computer, like renaming files
Yeah.
or sending emails,
No.
Python can do those things for you.
Really?
Yeah, you could write Python scripts to automate all sorts of things.
That's pretty awesome. I hate doing those repetitive tasks.
Yeah, a huge time saver.
So Python is good for web development,
Yeah.
data science, machine learning, automation.
Right.
Anything else I should know about this wonder language?
Well, let's not forget about its role in game development.
yeah, you mentioned that earlier.
Right. It's not as powerful as C++ for like high-end games.
Right.
But it's a great starting point for beginners.
Okay.
And it's often used for educational games.
Gotcha.
And the code is just so easy to read.
I'm kind of curious to see what this readable code looks like. Can we see an example?
Absolutely. Here's a simple hello world
Yeah.
function in Python. Python.
Return F. Hello. Welcome to the world of Python. Print. Greet Alice.
Okay, so it says, hello, Alice.
Right.
I get it. It does seem pretty straightforward.
Exactly. It's very beginner friendly.
Okay, so Python is definitely a language I need to check out.
I think it's a great choice.
Now let's move on from Python to another language that's super important in the tech world, JavaScript.
JavaScript. The language of the web.
Right. Now, I always thought of JavaScript as the language for making websites interactive.
Yeah,
But this article says it's way more than that.
it is. JavaScript has evolved a lot over the years.
The article calls it JavaScript,
Yeah.
beyond the browser.
Yeah.
So what else can JavaScript do besides making websites interactive?
Well, first of all, it's still essential for interactive websites.
All right.
It's what makes things dynamic and fun to use.
Uh-huh.
But with the rise of Node.js, JavaScript can now be used for back-end development as well.
Back-end development, what does that mean?
So the back-end is the server side of a website. It's
Yeah.
the part that handles all the behind-the-scenes stuff, like processing data and interacting with database. Traditionally, JavaScript was only used for the front end, the part that the user sees and interacts with.
Gotcha.
But now, with Node.js, you can use JavaScript for both the front end and the back end.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's called full stack development.
Full stack development.
Yeah.
So you can use one language for the entire website.
Exactly. It's very efficient.
That's pretty cool.
And it's not just websites.
Really?
JavaScript is now being used for mobile apps too.
What? How is that possible?
There are frameworks like React Native and Ionic that allow you to build mobile apps using JavaScript.
Wow, so I could use JavaScript to build an app for my iPhone.
You could. And the same code could be used to build an Android app as well.
Whoa, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's called cross-platform development.
Cross-platform development.
Yeah,
So JavaScript is kind of like a chameleon. It can adapt to all these different platforms.
that's a great analogy. And here's another cool thing about JavaScript. It can now be used to build desktop apps as well.
Desktop apps.
Really?
Yeah, with Electron.js, you can create desktop applications using web technologies. So I could build like a Spotify or Slack app using JavaScript.
You could. Electron.js is what powers a lot of popular desktop apps these days.
Wow, JavaScript is everywhere.
It is. It's become one of the most versatile and in-demand languages out there.
Okay, so we've got Python, the multi-tool of programming,
Right.
and JavaScript, the master of adaptation.
Yeah.
It's fascinating stuff. What other languages are we diving into today?
Well, from the adaptable world of JavaScript, we're going to move on to a language that's known for its power and stability. Java.
Java. I've definitely heard of Java, but I'm not sure I really understand what it's used for.
Yeah, Java is one of those languages that's been around for a while,
Ah.
and it's still incredibly relevant today.
Okay, so tell me more about Java. What's it all about?
Well, Java is known for its robustness security and its ability to handle massive amounts of data.
Okay.
It's often used for large-scale enterprise applications like banking systems and government websites.
So when I'm doing my online banking, I might be interacting with a Java application.
It's very possible. Java is a popular choice for building those kinds of systems.
Interesting.
And Java is also widely used in Android app development.
Really? I thought Kotlin was the language for Android apps now.
Kotlin is definitely gaining popularity, but a lot of existing Android apps are still built with Java.
Huh?
So if you're interested in Android development, Java is still a valuable skill to have.
Gotcha. So Java is robust, secure, great for big data,
Hmm.
and used for Android apps. Anything else?
Well, one of the key features of Java is its write once, run anywhere philosophy.
Write once, run anywhere. What does that mean?
It means that you can write Java code once, and it can run on any device that has a Java virtual machine.
A Java virtual machine.
Yeah, it's basically a software layer that allows Java code to run on different operating systems.
Oh, I get it. So I could write a Java program on my Windows computer, and it would also run on a Mac or a Linux computer.
Exactly. That's one of the big advantages of Java. It's very portable.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
And because of this portability, Java is also a popular choice for the Internet of Things.
The Internet of Things?
Yeah, all those connected devices, like smartwatches, smart refrigerators, smart home systems.
Ah, I see.
You can use Java to write software that runs on all sorts of devices.
So Java is like the universal language of connected devices.
In a way, yes. It's definitely a key player in the Internet of Things world.
Okay, so Java is robust, secure, great for big data, used for Android apps, and portable across different devices.
You got it.
I'm starting to see why Java is such a popular language.
It's a classic for a reason.
Now, what about C++K? I've heard that C++ is a really powerful language, but also kind of difficult to learn.
Yeah, C++ is definitely known for its power,
Uh-huh.
and it can be a bit challenging to learn.
So what's C++ all about? When would you use C++ over these other languages we've been talking about?
Well, C++ is often used when you need absolute control over the hardware.
Control over the hardware.
Yeah, like when you're building operating systems or device drivers or high-performance games.
Ah, so C++ is like the language for building the low-level stuff that interacts directly with the hardware.
Exactly. It's a very powerful language,
Uh-huh.
but it's also quite complex.
So it's not for beginners.
It's not the easiest language to start with.
Okay, but I wanted to become a game developer. C++ would be a good language to learn.
It would definitely be a valuable skill. A lot of AAA games are built with C++.
Cool. So what are some of the key features of C++?
Well, one of the things that makes C++ so powerful is its efficiency.
Efficiency.
Yeah, it's a very fast language.
Right.
And it gives you a lot of control over how the code interacts with the hardware. So it's often used for performance-critical applications like games and simulations.
I see. And what about this thing called systems programming that the article mentions?
Yeah, systems programming is all about building the low-level software that interacts directly with the hardware,
Okay.
things like operating systems and device drivers.
Gotcha. So C++ is a good language for systems programming.
Yeah. It's one of the most popular languages for that kind of work.
Okay.
And it's also used in other areas where performance is really important,
Like what?
like financial systems.
Financial systems.
Yeah. High-frequency trading platforms often use C++ because they need to be able to process transactions really quickly.
Huh. That's interesting.
Yeah, in finance, speed is money.
I get it. So C++ is fast and powerful and used in a lot of different industries.
Right.
But it's not the easiest language to learn.
No, it does have a bit of a learning curve.
Okay. Well, maybe I'll save C++ for later.
Yeah, it's probably not the best language to start with.
Okay, so we've got Python, JavaScript, Java, and C++. What's next?
Let's talk about a language that's been gaining a lot of popularity lately, Go.
Go. I've heard of Go, but I don't know much about it.
Yeah, Go is a relatively new language. It was created by Google.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it's designed to be simple, efficient, and great for building large-scale applications.
Okay, so when would you use Go? What kind of applications is it good for?
Well, Go is becoming increasingly popular for cloud computing.
Cloud computing.
Yeah, think of all those services that run in the cloud, like Google Drive and Dropbox.
Gotcha.
Those kinds of services often use Go.
Huh. Interesting. So Go is like the language of the cloud.
It's definitely a major player in that space.
Okay. And what are some of the key features of Go?
Well, one of the things that makes Go so popular is its concurrency support.
Concurrency support.
Yeah, it means that Go can handle multiple tasks at the same time really efficiently.
Oh, I see.
And this is really important for cloud applications because they often need to handle a lot of requests from different users at the same time.
Gotcha. So Go is good at juggling lots of different tasks at once.
Exactly. And it does it really well.
That's cool.
And Go is also known for its simplicity.
Simplicity.
Yeah, it's a very easy language to learn. And it's designed to be very readable.
So it's a good language for beginners.
It could be. It's definitely easier to pick up than some of the other languages we've talked about.
Okay, so Go is simple, efficient, good for cloud computing, and good at handling concurrency. Anything else?
Well, Go is also widely used in the DevOps world.
DevOps, what's that?
It's basically a set of practices that combines software development and IT operations.
Okay.
And Go is often used for building tools that automate those DevOps processes.
I see. So Go is like the language of automation for software development.
It's definitely a key player in that space.
This is fascinating stuff. I'm learning so much about these different programming languages.
It's a whole world out there, and we've only just scratched the surface.
Okay, so we've got Python, JavaScript, Java, C++, and Go. What other languages are we diving into today?
Let's talk about a language that builds upon the foundation of JavaScript, TypeScript.
TypeScript. Okay, I'm not familiar with that one.
Yeah, TypeScript is basically a superset of JavaScript.
A superset. What does that mean?
It means that it includes all the features of JavaScript, but it also adds some extra features.
Okay, so what are these extra features? Why would you use TypeScript instead of just plain JavaScript?
Well, one of the big advantages of TypeScript is that it adds static typing to JavaScript.
Static typing. What's that?
So in JavaScript, you don't have to specify what type of data a variable is going to hold, but in TypeScript, you do.
Okay.
And this can help catch errors early on in the development process.
Oh, I see.
Because if you try to use a variable in a way that's not consistent with its type, the TypeScript compiler will flag it as an error.
Gotcha. So TypeScript helps you write more reliable code.
Exactly. And it also makes the code more readable and maintainable.
Oh, so.
Well, when you have type annotations in your code, it's easier to understand what the code is doing. And it's also easier to make changes to the code without breaking things.
That makes sense. So TypeScript is basically JavaScript with some extra safety features and improved readability.
That's a good way to put it.
Okay, so when would you use TypeScript?
Well, TypeScript is often used for a large-scale web application, where it's important to have a strong type system to help prevent errors. And it's also the language of choice for the popular Angular framework.
Angular?
Yeah, it's a framework for building single-page web applications.
Gotcha.
And if you're working with Angular, you pretty much have to use TypeScript.
Okay, so TypeScript is essential for Angular development.
Pretty much.
So we've got Python, JavaScript, Java C plus Go and TypeScript. That's a lot of languages.
I know. It's a lot to take in. But these are some of the most popular and in-demand languages out there right now.
Okay, so where did we go from here?
Well, we've still got a few more languages to cover.
Really?
Yeah. We're going to talk about Swift Rust, and then we'll wrap up with some tips on how to choose the right language for you.
Okay, I'm ready for more. Let's dive in.
All right, let's do it. So from TypeScript, we're moving on to a language that's really popular in the Apple world, Swift.
Swift, like the bird.
Ah, yeah, it's named after the Swift bird.
So cute. So is Swift only used for Apple stuff?
Pretty much, yeah. It's the main language for developing apps for iPhones, iPads, Macs, Apple Watches, all of that.
So if I wanted to build the next TikTok or the next big game for iPhones, I'd need to learn Swift.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If you're interested in iOS development, Swift is the way to go.
Got it. So what's so special about Swift? Why did Apple create this new language?
Well, Swift was designed to be modern, safe, and easy to learn.
Easy to learn.
Relatively speaking, yeah.
Okay.
Compared to some other languages, it's considered pretty beginner-friendly.
Uh-huh. And you said safe. What does that mean?
Well, Swift has a lot of built-in features that help prevent errors.
Okay.
Like, for example, it has strong typing.
We talked about that with TypeScript, right?
Exactly. So you have to specify the type of data a variable is going to hold.
Uh-huh.
And this helps catch errors early on.
Gotcha.
And Swift also has this thing called optionals.
Optionals.
Yeah. So in some languages, you can have variables that don't have a value. And this can lead to errors if you try to use those variables.
I see.
But in Swift, you have to explicitly declare a variable as optional if it might not have a value. And this helps prevent those null pointer errors that can crash programs.
So Swift is designed to be more robust, less prone to errors.
Exactly. That's one of the big goals of the language.
That makes sense. So Swift is safe, modern theory, and used for all things Apple.
I got it.
Anything else I should know about Swift?
Well, one of the things that makes Swift really cool is its performance.
Okay.
It's a very fast language.
Yeah.
And it's designed to take advantage of the latest hardware.
So apps built with Swift are going to be really smooth and responsive.
Exactly. That's the idea.
That's awesome. I'm definitely adding Swift to my list of languages to learn.
I think it's a great choice.
Okay, so now let's move on to our final language for today, Rust.
Ah, Rust. This one's a bit of a favorite of mine.
Really? Why is that?
Well, Rust is a really unique language. It's designed to be both safe and fast.
Safe and fast. Those seem like contradictory goals.
I know, right? But Rust manages to pull it off.
How does it do that?
Well, Rust has this really cool ownership system.
Ownership system?
Yeah, so every piece of data in a Rust program has an owner.
Yeah.
And there are strict rules about how ownership can be transferred.
Huh. Not sure. I understand.
Basically, it prevents a lot of the common memory management errors that can occur in other languages.
Memory management error.
Yeah, it's like dangling pointers and buffer overflows.
Okay, I'm not a programmer, so I don't really know what those things are.
That's okay. Just know that they're bad.
Got it.
And Rust's ownership system prevents them from happening.
So Rust programs are more reliable, less likely to crash.
Exactly. And it's not just about safety. Rust is also really fast.
Okay.
It's often compared to C++ in terms of performance.
Wow, so Rust is like the best of both worlds.
It's definitely a very impressive language.
So when would you use Rust? What kind of applications is it good for?
Well, Rust is becoming increasingly popular for systems programming.
We talked about that with C++, right?
Right. So building operating systems, device drivers, that kind of stuff. And Rust is also being used for things like web browsers, game engines, and even blockchain technologies.
Well, he's blockchain too.
Yeah. Rust's focus on safety and performance makes it a good fit for that kind of work.
Wow, Rust is pretty versatile.
It is. It's a really powerful language.
Okay, but you said it's safe, and you also said it's fast.
Yeah.
So does that mean it's difficult to learn?
Well, Rust does have a bit of a learning curve.
Uh-huh.
It's definitely not the easiest language to pick up.
Okay, but if I was willing to put in the effort, would you recommend learning Rust?
Absolutely. I think Rust is a fantastic language.
Cool. So we've covered a lot of languages today. Python, JavaScript, Java C++, plus Go, Swift, and Rust.
That's a lot.
I know. It's amazing how many different programming languages there are out there.
It is. And each one has its own strengths and weaknesses.
Right. So with so many options to choose from, how do I know which language to learn?
That's a great question. And that's what we're going to talk about next.
Okay, I'm ready. Give me all the advice.
So how do you choose the right programming language to learn? Well, the article emphasizes that there's no single best language. It really depends on your goals and interests.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So what are some things I should consider when choosing a language?
Well, first think about what kind of projects you're interested in. What do you want to build?
Hmm, that's a good question. I guess I haven't really thought about that specifically.
Yeah, it's important to have some kind of goal in mind. It'll help you stay motivated.
Right. Okay, so let's say I'm interested in building mobile apps.
Okay, well, if you're interested in building apps for iOS, Swift would be a great choice.
We talked about that earlier, right?
Yeah, Swift is the primary language for iOS development.
What about Android apps?
For Android, you could use Java or Kotlin.
Java or Kotlin? Which one's better?
It kind of depends. Kotlin is newer and has some advantages over Java,
Uh-huh.
but Java is still widely used, so both are good options.
Okay, so if I want to be a mobile app developer, I should learn either Swift or Java or Kotlin. Okay, what if I'm interested in web development?
For web development, you've got a lot of options.
Uh-huh.
JavaScript is essential for front-end development,
Right.
and you can use it for back-end development as well with Node.js.
Full stack development.
Right. And then there are other languages like Python, PHP, Ruby that are also popular for web development.
Wow, so many choices.
I know. It can be a bit overwhelming. But that's why it's helpful to have a specific project in mind.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Like if you want to build a website that uses a lot of data, Python might be a good choice because of its data science libraries.
Okay, that makes sense.
Or if you want to build a really fast and scalable web application, Go might be a good option.
Gotcha. So the best language for web development depends on the specific needs of the project.
Exactly.
Okay, what about other areas like data science or machine learning?
For data science and machine learning, Python is the dominant language.
We talked about that earlier, right?
Yeah, Python has a really strong ecosystem for data science and machine learning, with libraries like NumPy Pandas and TensorFlow.
Right.
So if you're interested in those areas, Python is a must-learn.
Got it. So how about this? What if I'm just starting out and I don't really know what kind of projects I'm interested in yet?
That's totally fine. I think the best advice in that case is to start with a versatile language like Python or JavaScript.
We talked about that earlier too, right?
Yeah, those languages are kind of like the all-rounders of the programming world.
Uh-huh.
You can use them for a wide variety of things.
Okay, so Python or JavaScript is a good place to start.
Definitely. And once you have a better understanding of the basics of programming, you can start to specialize in a particular area.
Okay, that makes sense.
And the great thing about programming is that once you learn one language, it's much easier to learn others.
Really? Why is that?
Well, a lot of the concepts are the same across different languages.
Uh-huh.
So once you understand things like variables, loops, functions, and so on, you can apply that knowledge to any language.
Well, that's good to know. So I don't have to feel like I'm stuck with the first language I learn.
Not at all. It's all about building up your programming skills over time.
This has been an incredible deep dive into the world of programming languages. I've learned so much today.
Me too. It's been fun talking about all this stuff.
I feel like I have a much better understanding of what these different languages are used for and how to choose the right one for my needs.
Yeah, and remember the most important thing is to just get started.
Right. Don't be afraid to dive in and start coding.
Exactly. The best way to learn is by doing.
That's it for this deep dive into the world of programming languages.
Thanks for joining us.
And until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deeper.